very often people really want to know, come back with a question, even after everything I've said. What do I do? And my answer to that is, firstly, you will never ever learn meditation. Meditation is an ongoing process. It's a way of living. It's not a technique or a state of mind that you can attain to. So, I can't give you, nobody can give you instructions and say this is meditation. There are some kinds of meditation you can do that. I can say, recite the word Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang. Recite the word, common one, Lang, Lang, something like that. These are called mantras. So you can recite a mantra, for example. You can follow the breathing, for example. You can visualize different things. I did this Tibetan retreat once, and we had to do this visualization. And you have to visualize a white pipe going down the center of your body. It's white on the inside, red on the outside. And inside that pipe is a mustard seed. And on the mustard seed is written a sacred symbol in Tibetan, not in Sanskrit. And then once you visualize that, you have to shoot, then on the top of that pipe, which is at the top of your head, is sitting a white Avalokiteshvara Buddha. And sitting on top of him is a red Amitabha Buddha. And the Amitabha Buddha's big toe is pressed on the top of your head. And then you have to shoot the seed up from the center of the body, through the pipe, and it bounces off Amitabha Buddha's big toe and then comes down gently back into the center of the body. Do you want to do that one? It was interesting, to say the least. So there are different experiences that you can generate, but with mindfulness meditation, what we were trying to do is practice this presence, or practice this awareness. And this awareness then we can focus or remember through all of our experiences, whether we're walking, sitting, standing, lying down, talking, working, playing on the computer, or whatever it is that we are doing. So what we do, we have to start with something we can do, is follow the breathing. Breathing is only one of many meditation objects, but is quite applicable to all people and is quite useful. To follow the breathing, I'd recommend that you notice the rising and the falling of the abdomen, but as you feel it from the inside. So you bring your attention back till you feel your whole body, and then you bring your attention down the center of the body, and you feel the rising and the falling of the abdomen. You can actually use the breath at any point. You might like to see it as a flow. You might like to stop still while the breath passes by. Some people even use the tip of the nose at the nostril. If you have a lot of thinking, you can do that. Focusing on the nostril helps you to control your thinking. Then, as you watch the breath, every so often your attention is going to wander away. Why? The breath comes in, goes out, comes in, and goes out. Your unconscious says, got it. You go off and think about something, I'll look after the meditation for you. And then you're gone, and then 10 minutes later you're like blinking your eyes and, okay, I forgot, I'm supposed to be meditating. So, at that moment, when you realize that you've gone off thinking, right there you have awareness. That's the mindfulness. So the job is not really to stay with the breath. The job is more to notice and appreciate those moments when your attention has returned, when your wakefulness has returned, and you know what you are doing. You know that you are thinking and not watching the breath. Now that knowing is very hard to catch hold of, so we use a meditation object as an anchor. So you use the breath as the anchor point. You bring your attention back to the breath. So you're concentrating on the breath, but you're watching where the mind wanders to. The breathing at the abdomen, if you are stressed or you have a lot of thinking, you will tend to breathe in from the chest. If you breathe in from the abdomen, this is yogic breathing, it will automatically have a biofeedback that tells your mind, oh, I must be at ease because I'm breathing in an at ease posture. So it's very useful if you can train yourself to be close friends with the breath at the abdomen. Because at any point during the day, whenever you remember yourself, just you're back. Even if things are unpeaceful around you, you have this sense of a place to come back to, a place of calm. Then acknowledge that your attention is going to wander away. That's the way you've trained yourself ever since you were young, to always be looking at some experience, always to be getting absorbed in something that you are doing. So it's going to take time, it's going to take patience. But even just as you begin, you realize that your relationship to yourself has already shifted. You're already seeing your mind jumping around as being something that afflicts you. Whereas before, when your mind jumps around, you think that's you. You think that's just me doing stuff. Now you see, am I the mind or am I not the mind? Right? So, as I said, your relationship to your experience is starting to change. And many people miss that and say, well, I can't meditate. I'm too old to meditate. English people can't meditate, we're just too stressed, too Germanic to be able to do meditation. I've got children, when they've grown up, then I can meditate. And missing the fact that that's your experience right now. So you can bring that awareness to every single experience that you have. As you practice it, it starts to become your home. You get less and less interested in the content of the mind, and get more and more happy with just that naked being. You're becoming a human being and not a human doing. So, meditation is a lifelong path. You will never be able to do it. I can't teach you some trick and then you can do it, whereas before you couldn't do it. However you do your meditation, it just gets deeper and deeper and more subtle, and it never stops. The other thing is, you can only learn meditation by doing it. That is, getting onto a cushion and stopping and practicing. It's not something that you figure out first. Like tennis. You can't figure out tennis. You have to pick up a racket and hit the ball. There's no other way. Once you're up and you're running and you're hitting the ball and you're playing or practicing every day, a coach can give you tips and tricks and pointers to improve your game. But the tennis is something that you do. It's not something that you learn with the mind first. You don't learn the technique first. You have to go and hit the ball with the racket. Same for the meditation. You just have to get onto a sitting mat and start doing it. So what I recommend is 20 minutes a day, every day, and get interested to see what happens. Put aside your expectations of what you think should happen and see what happens. See where the mind goes. Today I'm excited, tomorrow I'm thinking, today I'm angry, yesterday I was blissful, 10 minutes time I'm sleepy, 10 minutes after that, I can't, my mind's just going crazy. All of these different experiences are all valid when you're sitting on the mat. So you have the place, it's useful to have a place, and you sit 20 minutes a day, no Facebook, no phones, no computer, and having that intention to put down any deliberate thinking. So your mind can think and can jump around, and you can see where the mind goes, but put down deliberate planning and thinking and worrying, where you just get lost or caught up in a particular line of thinking that you think you need to figure out. So 20 minutes a day, just to be with yourself, irrespective of the experience that comes up. Right? And just this much will fundamentally change the way that you experience yourself. And by changing the way that you experience yourself, wisdom starts to arise by itself. And it will start to change you in ways that you can't change yourself. Is it clear enough? Should we sit together for 10 minutes, see how it goes? Okay. So settle yourself into a comfortable posture. You can stay on the chairs or you can move to the floor, whichever. So, as a simple practice, bring your attention onto the sensation of the breath as it runs through the body. And every so often, your mind will wander away onto something else. When you catch the mind having wandered away, that's mindfulness. That awareness, sharp attention. You may feel a little uncomfortable at first, but quickly you get used to it. You get used to this feeling of being present. You may find your sense of time starts to change. 5 minutes can seem like an hour. Sometimes an hour can seem like 5 minutes. Be sure to keep your attention grounded somewhere in the body. And be sure to be in the present moment and not caught up in the past or the future. So we're going to sit together just for 10 minutes. Keep on bringing your attention home patiently, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. Re-establishing your wakefulness and mindfulness of the breath. If you worry if you're doing it rightly or wrongly, that's thinking. Be aware that you're thinking, and then come back to the breath. You start to feel bored. Be aware that's experience of boredom. It's just arisen. And cease. Bring your attention back to the breath. If you have uncomfortable feelings in the body, just note this is the feeling in the body. My attention has just moved My attention has just moved to that feeling, and momentarily it will move on to something else. Whatever your experience is, you take note, and then keep on bringing your attention back to the breath. And calling into the meditation, the wish, the thought, or the visualization of spreading a universal loving kindness, radiating out from yourself here, sharing with the other people in this room. May they be happy. May they be peaceful, and may they be free from suffering. Opening yourself up to receiving that energy and vibration and sharing it back out to the world. May all beings, everywhere, in every state, be happy and be peaceful and be free from suffering. Sabbe buddha balapata pachekanancha yang balan arahantanancha tejena rakandandani sapatso sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanghanubhavena satthasoti bhagavantute. So relax your posture. So we have almost 10 minutes and then we finish, so we're very close to the end. I talked today about mindfulness as it is a new therapeutic tool and being used in psychology, both for patients and for the therapist. I've tried my best to put mindfulness meditation into its original context, which is as a tool for enlightenment, and tried to show that mindfulness is not just a new experience that you can generate or a magic button that's going to change you and give you new experiences, and then finally got into how to catch hold of the mind and follow or identify that mindful quality. So if there are any questions or anything you'd want to expand on, now would be the time to raise the question. Don't be shy.
Is there the daily practice that you suggest, is there a best time of day?
Is there a best time of day for the practice? The best time of day is when you feel like it the most. So for some people that needs to be rigorous. Get up early, feed the cat, water the plants, and then sit for 20 minutes. It's a very nice way to start the day. For some people it's the end of the day. For some people is while you're at work. And I knew I don't know what you call it, a general manager of a hotel. And big hotel. And if you've worked in hotels, you know, hotels are insane. Things that go on. And he went to see actually my abbot, and the first time he did meditation, he got all these attainments. And then he had to go back to work, but he had some really deep and powerful attainments and all these psychic powers and different things going on. And then when he got to work the next day, he just didn't want to be at work, he wanted to be meditating. And the only way that he found any peace was to go and sit in the broom cupboard. So that's what he did. And a couple of times every day he would go to the broom cupboard and just sit. And nobody could find him, and he could just meditate for a little while. So it's up to you to find a period of time, but do it every day. And so it becomes like brushing your teeth. That you really look forward to that time when you can just sit and stop for a few minutes. Many people kind of ask questions. Remember, we're trying to bring awareness to every experience. And so people often ask questions like, what can I do, or when should I do it? And this one person asked, like, when I go to bed, should I sleep with the lights on or the lights off? It's not about tweaking your experience, it's about bringing the mind home. Right? So you're remembering yourself and you're feeling yourself, and that you're bright and you're self-aware. That's where it is. Okay. Now your experience may be one of sleepiness, maybe one of excitement, maybe one of thinking. Whatever your experience is, the meditation is right now. Go ahead.
You were talking about awareness, avoiding being aware of ourselves and our own minds and things that we do to try and avoid being aware of ourselves. But can you relate that to awareness of ourselves in the context of focusing on ourselves too much, or our own needs, and not noticing those of others, or at the expense of other people, like that tendency to be aware of ourselves in that?
There is, we get caught up in this word, the self, and the human mind has this technique of creating constructs or images. Has anyone read that book, Escher Gödel Bach? Anyone read that famous book? In it, and his follow-up book, I'm a Strange Loop, he talks about this. And human beings, we have this ability to create models in our mind and play with the models. So, for example, if you have children and you have a series of holes in a piece of wood, and you have a star and a square and a circle, and then you have a physical star, a physical cube, and a physical ball, the kid will try to put the ball into the star and the square into the circle, and they'll just try things until they get it right. And all animals work this way. But as a child gets older, we get this ability to start modeling the thing in our head. So we can look at the star, the square, and the ball, play it out in our mind, and catch, okay, ball goes to this one, the star goes to this one, the square goes to this one. So human beings are unique in our ability to be able to model something and then play with it as a model before we actually engage in action. So what we've done is our leap in evolution, I don't know if it's a leap forward or leap backwards, is we're able to model ourselves. And so we start making ideas about myself and my history and my future and my psychology and my wants and my non-wants and my needs. and you go to see a psychoanalyst, and they'll go through your history, your mother and your father and your children and your parents and everything, and build up a dossier, and then after 4 or 5 years of therapy, like, well, there you are, you finished, that's you. And give you this thick book. So that's one self, is a self that we model and we play with. And you want to get away from that kind of thing. So it's good to work on yourself, it's good to have projects. I think even if you get confused with it or caught up in psychology or whatever, I think that's good. I think we're getting good at doing that now. Kind of Oprah Winfrey stuff, you know. The other kind of feeling that I'm talking about is that raw, naked awareness, that physical just experiencing, not thinking, not processing, not analysing. Processing or analysing is going on, you're just experiencing it as something that's like hitting you, but you're not getting caught up in those stories. So to just be a human being, not a human doing, is a different way of being with yourself. Anybody else? You looked as if you were going to say something.
I was just going to say the meditation or the mindfulness that we did, I feel, when I've done it in my own time, I feel like a calmness, like you feel like a calmness that comes across, that's what the feeling you get, like sort of like an emotion, or you get some sort of, just calmness feeling. But the amount of time is what you do. 20 minutes is probably the longest. I've done it for little bits here and there, like 5 minutes, or here and there it's 8 minutes or so, but the longer you do it, you probably get more, calmness and all that sort of effect.
Did you all hear that? The calmness is another experience that's coming up. So actually that's not it either.
Alright.
But you want to bring the awareness to that calmness and notice it and feel it, like, oh, that's interesting. But tomorrow it may not be calmness. What are you going to do when you fall ill? Well, I can't meditate. I can only meditate if I'm not ill. I can only meditate on a Sunday. I can only meditate if my wife's not here. I can only meditate if the weather's good. I can only meditate if they're not doing building work outside. So actually we want to bring that, or try to identify and find that awareness that is there with every single experience, including being calm, including being agitated, including being angry, including being sick. The awareness that feeling yourself is always there. There is a stable ground that you reach behind every experience, which is very calming, because it gives you a sense of your real home, like, oh, that's where I really am. But that develops kind of slowly. So be open to every experience, whether it's calmness or not calmness. Go ahead.
I just have a question about like you were saying, with this mindfulness practice, then this wisdom arises. It's sort of like breathing it almost as like a tool to, well, not experience wisdom or whatever, but is that something in the Buddhist tradition that is always within ourselves, like it's just sitting there waiting to arise, or it's something that's coming from something else, or like how do you really perceive what that wisdom is, or where it's coming from, or how is that like in the tradition?
You don't need to worry about wisdom. Your job is to pay attention. Your job is to observe. If you observe, then things will change by themselves. So and it's not just Buddhism. Jesus said it, that you should know yourself. The entrance to the oracle at Delphi, doesn't it say, know thyself? Isn't that where that comes from? Physician, know thyself, all of this kind of thing. So the premise is that by paying attention and by observing, then those changes will start to occur by themselves. And it may be, at first, hidden changes. At first you want to allow them to meditate, and then I'm not going to, get angry at a Bangkok taxi driver that says he knows where he's going and takes me somewhere else instead. you know, you want to like hit a button to change stuff. Actually, the change is really gradual and slow, but fundamental. It's a power rather than force. Force is one thing acting against another thing. Power is a movement of the whole being. So you won't solve individual problems, but there is a movement of the heart that when you look back, you say, wow, that's different. But as I say, that's not coming from the ego. That's happening, you know, in the background. So your job is to observe, know thyself. It's interesting. You can't, if you're angry, really you just want to punch the person in the face. But if you know anger, you've changed from the person being the object of the anger to knowing the feeling of anger. And when you feel anger yourself, you just get this movement that you want to drop it, not hit the other person. You get this feeling the problem isn't with the other people, the problem is with this quality here. Things naturally start to change like this.
Just your view on silence while meditating.
Silence while meditating.
Do you prefer to be in silence? Because I guess we can't control what's going on around
Right.
us. So it's just bringing that attention back.
Well, I've lived in Thailand for 19 and a half years and I've never experienced silence yet.
So it's just focusing on that.
Outside my window in the temple are 2,500 schoolgirls. So silence is not something that I'm accustomed to. Silence is there in between the thoughts. And this process of observation slows everything down. And when you slow everything down, you start to see between the thoughts. And one person asked the Dalai Lama, said, you know, all that Buddhist stuff, just tell me what meditation is. He said, go to the place in between the thoughts and stop still there. It's a great way to talk about meditation. So silence is there when in between the thoughts. And when you catch it and latch onto it, you can sit in that silence and not move. Thoughts may pass you by, they may come in and go out, but you don't move from that silence. And that's your own nature, it's your real nature. Okay, I think